We're going to begin our art project for this week. You worked on the 6 different types of wash techniques. Now we're going to use that to make a painting of a sunset. I know I told some of you we were doing clouds, but I got ahead of myself. That's next week. So before you wet your paper, you're going to make your colors. We're going to use this paper, the one that's taped to the board. Your board is smaller than this, but it's the same size paper. Prop it up with an eraser or something like that so it's just slightly tilted toward you. And before we begin wetting our paper, we're going to make our colors. So the colors we're going to need are purple, red, orange, and yellow. So we're going to need fairly bright colors. So let's get these colors wet so we can get some good, thick paint. I was noticing the other day one of the students was working on their project in class, and they were trying to use paint that was too watery or not enough on the plate. So you need to mix quite a bit on the plate. I'm actually going to move my paper aside while I make my paint puddles. So you need to have them already done before you start painting because you don't have a lot of time before the paper dries. So after it's soaked for a minute or so, like I'm letting it do right now, we're going to mix some colors. So we're going to use purple. Not that the sky is really ever purple, but it's just an interesting effect in a watercolor sunset. So here's purple, but we're going to add some red to it to make that kind of plumish purple like we have made in our color mixing chart. So let's get some red and put that in a puddle next to the purple. You see how dark I'm getting these? These are fairly thick paints. If you have an edge on your plate, you can scrape off some of the paint and make it run down into the puddle. Now I'm going to take some of this red and mix it with the purple. It's probably going to take quite a bit of it actually, till I get a more warmish purple, not such a dark crayon looking purple. Yeah, that's a good one. So mix yourself a color like that. Now we're going to get some plain red, so I'm going to just wipe this spot off. I just didn't, when you make a separate pile of red like that, then you can just keep dipping into it until you get the shade of purple that you want. Whereas if you have to keep dipping back into the paint box, you have to keep washing off the brush and wasting a lot of paint. So let's put a little more water in that red. Not a lot of water though, because then it makes it watery red, and we don't want watery red. We want a nice bright red. We want a really bright, colorful sunset. If you notice you're getting holes in your paint, so am I, it's okay. We've only got 10 weeks left till the end of the semester. We've already been doing this for 8, so we're good. Okay, so there's a red. Let's make a puddle of orange. Dry your brush a little bit, because you already put water in the orange, and you don't want to make it too watery, because watery makes pale color. You don't want a pale sunset. Sunsets aren't pale. That's why we love them, because they're so bright. They're so amazing. Okay, wash your brush off, and then we need some yellow. Dry your brush a little bit, and let's get some yellow here. Ooh, nice bright yellow. Yeah. Okay. Now that we've got those ready, let's do our paper. A little something under there to prop it up. And I'm going to suggest, instead of trying to use your brush to wet the paper, because these brushes aren't the biggest, we're going to use a paper towel to wet the paper. I don't know if it's against the rules or not, but that's what we're going to do. Because usually when you're painting, see, this is our brush. You'll have bigger brushes like this one. This one's really good for putting water on the page really quickly, like that. Well, you don't have one of those at home. Once you come back to school, we'll have those for you to use. So that we don't have to keep going paint, 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 paint with the water and rubbing up those little fuzz balls. Get the paper towel wet and just wipe. And see how my water's kind of pink, but you can't see it on the paper. So you don't have to have clean water. And then give it an eyeball and see if it's wet. Mine's already nice and wet. I'm gonna tip it in case it's got too much water. I'm going to dry off my brush and then soak up any water that ends up at the bottom. All right, here we go. Now this is going to be quick. Not going to mess around and paint, 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 paint. We're just going to lay some color on it and stop. That's the code word of the day. So we're going to do it a little bit at an angle, and we're going to start with purple at the top. Lay in some purple. Put in some purple. Stop. You want to make this part a little darker? You can put it on a layer, but always go, we're going to go at a little bit at an angle like that so that it looks natural like the sky would look when the clouds are up there causing the sunset to happen. My paper is a little soggy, so I'm going to wipe off some of this paint. So it's still a little shiny, but it's not so drippy wet. Okay, now I'm going to get my red. Here we go. I think I might add a little bit of orange to this red and not make it fire engine red. So I've got a little bit of orange. I'm going to put it in there, and then I'm going to put it right near the purple. And now I'm going to stop with that. I'm just going to pick up some orange and put orange underneath, and maybe add a little orange up into the red to fill in those blank spaces. A little more orange. Ooh, my paper's getting dry, so I'm going to get a little water. And then I'm going to get my yellow. And then a little more yellow. And then maybe a little pure yellow at the bottom. Stop. Done. And the white parts are okay. We want it to be kind of not looking like a red stripe and a yellow stripe and an orange stripe like that. But we don't want to cover everything completely. Now I notice I've got a little bit of an edge here that I don't like, so I'm going to add a little water there to kind of make the purple and the red run together a little more. But then I'm going to stop. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to wait for it to dry, and you want to tilt it a little more to make those colors run together. You can do that. You can see I've got a super soggy spot right here. I don't want that. I'm going to pick that up. Stop. But tilting it will cause those colors to run together a little bit. And you're looking at it going, it doesn't look like anything. But let's just wait. We're going to put some mountains at the bottom. Let's just wait and let it dry. And I'm going to come back when it's dry. All right, so I took my picture out in the sun, and it dried pretty quickly. And so now we're going to add some mountains. And believe it or not, I'm going to let you use black. You could use purple and add some yellow to it, some really dark purple and add yellow to it to make it look almost black. Or you can just use black. I think I'm going to try making a very, very dark purple. You remember what I said about black, how black is not really a color that you want in your painting because it draws all the light, sucks up all the light, and then it's very dull looking. So I'm going to make some very, very thick purple, and then I'm going to add some yellow to it. I'm not going to put any water on that. I want it to be super, super dark and thick. Rinse off my brush really well. Dab away most of the water and then pick up some yellow. It's also thick and add it to the purple. It still looks pretty purple. I'm going to use a different brush to pick up some more of the yellow because I don't want to wash all this purple off and get my brush wet. Add some water. Let it sit for a second. Maybe even stir it around a little bit, rub it around in there. Lots of paint. And then scoop some of that up and put it in the purple. Why am I adding yellow to the purple? Because that's the color straight across the color wheel that will darken it and take some of the bright purpliness out of it. Sorry, I bumped the camera. And make it more of a blackish purple. Okay, I'm going to use that. You may use black if you'd like. It'll be interesting to see how our different paintings turn out. So now we're just going to make some mountain peaks. So start over here and just going to go up and down. Maybe down a little bit more, and then I make a real tall mountain. Don't make it look curly. Make it look like a real mountain. See that one part right there? That doesn't look real because mountains don't do that. So make it look realistic and then fill it in. Don't add any water if you can avoid it. I may run out of paint here before I can fill it all the way in. Ooh, I have to add a little bit of water to get it to spread. Okay, picking up some more paint over there. You can dab in some color to make this dark. Spread it around. Try to get rid of those brush strokes. And then leave it. Maybe tilt it up so that the paint can kind of run together and get rid of some of that stripy look. All right, and then we're going to take a little bit of this purple and we're going to put a couple birds flying over our mountains. So you're going to use the tip of the brush. You can use a littler brush if you want, the one that came with the set. But you can actually make quite a nice tip even with this big brush. And we're going to make what my friend used to call M birds. Birds that look like an M. So we're going to do a little whoop, and then going the other way, a little whoop, and then maybe make a V bird. And things look better in groups of 3. So let's make one more bird. Where shall we put the bird? Here, here. And make a little small bird that just kind of looks done. And that's your painting. That was easy, but look how cool it looks. So now when it's dry, or actually, probably now you could even do it. But don't touch the wet part with your hands. I think you better wait till it's dry. The way you get the tape off is you're going to have to look and see which one's on top. I don't remember which one is the way I taped yours. I can feel that this one's on top of, the one going this way is on top of the one going this way. So I'm going to very gently undo it, and then I'm going to pull it straight out at a right angle to the painting. I'm not going to pull it this way. I'm going to pull it this way. And that usually keeps it from tearing the paper. You see how I'm doing that? If you want to save this tape, you could turn the paper over and have another go at it on the other side. It kind of gets all curly like this. You got to kind of take care of it. Just hang it on the edge of the table, and then you can uncurl it when you need it. So I'm going to pull off this one now. The great unveiling. Whoop, tearing the paper a little bit. Excuse me, paint box. Excuse me, water. Get out of my way. Be careful of your water. Don't ever knock it over. That would be disastrous. If you want to hold this so it doesn't curl up when you take it off, that might be a good idea. You can just lay it on the table, and then you can reuse it. If you have some of this tape at home, you don't have to save this. But a lot of people don't have this kind of tape. It's not the clear kind you wrap Christmas presents with. It's just called masking tape. It's what people who paint houses and paint cars, like Rebecca's dad, use to cover sections where they don't want paint to go when they're painting something. One more. Don't touch the wet paint. Pull straight, pull right at a right angle. You could even just stick it on your board. Oh, let it twist. You could even just stick it on your board. And then you could use it a second time. I'm going to untwist this one. I don't know if you can see way over here on the side of my screen, but I'm going to lay that on there. So there's your painting. Looks pretty nice. You can see my mountains are dripping. But we live and learn. So there's your painting. Good job, you guys.